Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hottest Fuck podcast. I am so excited. Today we have a very special guest on. Everyone, welcome Miss Bre Cain to the podcast. Bre is a mom of three and an entrepreneur. The hot shot quick of that is she went from $70 months, like not having her own business, working in her kids' playroom, still there, you can see, and to 100K cash months in 13 months and has kept going since then. So, Bre, thank you so much for coming on today.
Goodness. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation and yeah, can't wait to see where it goes. I know we have a lot in common too of just balancing motherhood, big goals, big dreams, like partners who are like, what the heck are you doing? So this is going to be so juicy.
I agree. And it's exactly why I wanted to have you on because I'm like, ladies, listen up here. We have queens in the house, and Bre is going to break it down so we can. I just love what I already know of your story to share that, to be like, ladies, we can do so much more than we think,
Yeah.
especially as mamas. And like, perfect example, you. So let's dive in.
Ooh,
And let's start. I want to even start with before business Bre.
mm,
Give everyone like this, like give us the little pre-business Bre of like what did life look like? What did you do before? That quick, like give us that background and context of like what did it look like before you started your business?
yeah, absolutely. So I would say that there was like pre-baby corporate Brie who was very just like driven and focused, and I've always been someone who I'm like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm all in and want to climb the ladder. And I think there's good and there's bad with that. I think that like the narrative when I was growing up was like, go to college, get a good job, get raises, get promotions, like that's what defines your success and your worth. And very much I did that. And I believed in that. And I was like, this is who I am. Like, I'm good at career stuff. Whatever I do. I always had the mindset though, I was like, whatever I do, I want to be good at. And I'm willing to like be messy to figure out how to get good. And then I had my first baby. And that was really when everything changed because I did initially go back to work and I only lasted 3 months. I cried every day and it was like handing over half of my heart when I would drop her off at daycare. Like my first day back at work, they had a welcome breakfast and I couldn't even go. I sat at my desk and just cried. And I was like, wow, like I don't want to be here. I thought career was everything, but it turns out it wasn't. And the interesting part was like my mom is entrepreneurial, and so she would always, when we were little, we would like pet sit and just like random little like lemonade stands. So I've always thought like, wow, it would be cool to have my own business. Even when I had a corporate career, I was like, oh, what could I do? But I never really had the confidence and the conviction. I never really like knew what I could do. I never really had the push. And then enter motherhood.
Ooh.
um and so I actually started out in business in the direct sales industry. I started with Rodan and Fields when I was still, it was like in that 3 month period where I went back to work after having my first baby. And I was like, I want this to like replace my income. And I just kind of went all in and was like savage about it. And it made me a lot more comfortable then in 3 months to be like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to come back to this career. But so I would say like pre-business Brie. I always have been like competitive and like high achieving, which I think is sounds cool, but also is not cool. Like there's a lot to unpack there. Um, but it's like I never really had the push of like I could
Mm.
do something of my own. And it wasn't until motherhood came along where I was like, wow, like suddenly it's not just about me and I have this like really real tangible reason to like start a business. And I kind of just started where I could, where it was comfortable, where it felt a little bit less risk than like putting out one of my own offers.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I love hearing that, for everyone to hear that and just like get a feel of like, okay, before and what that looked like. And it just made me think there's a couple things, just that mindset that you shared, which is whatever I do, be good at. And I feel like, and I've heard that from the greats, I feel like even like Kobe Bryant's, and it's like when you have that mindset, transcends like whatever you're doing. and like you've applied now, but I just think that's so like, I think sometimes when we start something, it can be like, I want to make money, or I want to achieve this award or success or thing at the, this destination thing, versus like, even, I don't know, this is just even like, because I work with people too in health too and fitness, like, even if
Yeah.
it's like the goal of like losing weight. And it's like, what if whatever you do, you just want to be good at? Like, there's no doubt you get the end result then if you have that mindset versus, well, oh God, I just graspy, like, I want this thing. And instead you're like, I'm gonna be good at whatever the fuck I do. And like that gave you the energy day to day to probably do the things. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The interesting part too, that like as you were sharing that, I'm like the duality, because
Mm,
to get good at something, you have to suck at something. And I think that's where people get stumped. Is like, I want to be good at this thing and I want to be the best, but like they're not comfortable failing first. And I think that
mhm,
was something like I had to work up to it.
yeah,
I like it truly wasn't until I became a mom where I was like, I've got nothing to lose because I don't want to be in this corporate job.
right.
And yeah, like I think that's the biggest thing is like to get good at something, like you have to suck at it, and normalizing like the suck leads to good. And like I don't know, it's like I my first so I did direct sales for 5.5 years, and then my husband said, he's like, all that time and energy you're putting into someone else's business, what if you put that into your own? That was the summer of 2022. And I was like,
Oh, and pause.
whoa,
So that was like you did ended corporate and then you did the Rodan and Fields for 5.5 years. Finally,
yeah,
and now your husband says in 2022, like, hey, why don't you
yep.
do something? Okay.
Yeah, and I was with Rodan& and Fields for 3 years, and then I was with
Okay.
Savvy, which was like a fashion, athleisure, like clothes kind of brand, which was super fun. But yeah, he said that. So 5.5 years of direct sales, and I had like again, I'm like, I'm just gonna see. I would like see the people. This was when I was with Savvy. I would see the people who were at the top, and I just had my third baby. I was like, I'm just gonna do what they're doing and see what happens. So I like tripled my output, my like daily activity, and I was just like studying them. I'm like, so they share these things, they share, what are they
Mhm.
doing? And I'm just gonna do that. And I kid you not, within 6 months, I hit number one in sales in the company. It was
Amazing.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like, here's the thing is that, and when I started my business, my husband said that. And I was like, cool. Like, yes, I agree with you what he said, but also I have no idea what I would do. And one of the first things I did was invest in mentorship to like learn the skill of business. Now, here's the caveat, and this goes back to like having like sucking at something to be good.
Mhm.
My first 6 months of mentorship and deciding to start my own business, I made $132 total, not a month, total. And I think that if I was realistic, I would have quit, but I wasn't. And I think that just goes like now I would say, yeah, I'm fucking savage at business. I love business and it's really easy and fun. But at the time, I completely sucked, but I didn't give up. And that's why I am where I am.
Mm. Okay, I love this. Let's get into like the start because like, yeah, now we're like, okay, you're starting business here. I wanted to like give some real for people in context because I always feel like sometimes when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm like, oh, but how did you act? Like, what did that really look
Mm,
like?
yeah.
And so when you said you invested in a mentor and you had made $0 then at this point.
Mhm.
So how much did you invest at this point in time in your mentor in actual dollars? And then what kind of time investment were you also putting
Mhm.
into these initial sucking hours of like, this first 6 months? Let's just call it that. And then we'll go from
Yeah.
there.
Okay. I think I spent over 20K and I made $132.
We all
And
hear that. Like, yes. Yeah.
yeah, and it was a shit ton for my nervous system to hold. I was like, I was freaked out, but I was also like, I know I can do this. And if I just keep going, I always just equated it to like, there's more to learn. Like, and I
Mm,
really felt like I was in college. I was studying, I was implementing the courses, offering things that no one was buying or like two people would buy. Um, and I just was like led by like, I'll just keep putting my, and I worked with a bunch of different mentors.
mhm.
I'll just keep putting myself in rooms with people who are doing it and mentors who've done it. And like, yeah, month 7, it clicked. And like, I kid you not, I've had so many months where my income will literally double from the month prior. Like
Mm.
crazy. Like one month I went from 55K a month to 100K cash a month. Like that
Mhm.
shit doesn't happen unless you're like wildly savage and unrealistic with like your goals and your business building.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I love that. Okay. So, okay. And what about time? What was that looking
Oh
like?
yeah.
Was this because you've got three
Yeah.
babies and tell
Yeah.
everyone too, I want to like really give context here too. They're not like teenagers grown. Like you have three young kids. So how old are your kids? What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. So my kids are currently 7, 6, and 3. So in the summer of 2022, my youngest had just turned 1. So she was on my lap for most of, the first year.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's just something I'm like, I can't change this. Like, I'm just in the middle of motherhood, so I'm going to be super unapologetic about it. And, you
Hmm.
know, my kids would be on coaching calls. If you watch like my curriculum and my signature program, there's times where like they pop in or you can hear them in the background. I'm like, that's my life. Like, just is.
Hmm.
And I want to normalize this for other moms too. And I
Yeah.
don't have an office. Our house is tiny. Like, I'm in my kids' playroom, which is like, there's the front door.
Right.
You can
Right.
do it with whatever you have.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So good. So three kids and even younger than 5 to 1. And how much time were you putting in then to start to create this?
Yeah, that's right. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Um, let's see. I mean, I would say it was a good couple hours a day, like broken
Yeah.
up. Um, yeah, I mean, I like, there'd be a training and like a program I was in, and I would be on Zoom and taking notes, and my kids would be playing outside. And so I'd bring the laptop outside and be like listening to the training and like supervising. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a time commitment. Like, I truly felt like I was in college, but I didn't know
Yeah.
business. So I knew I needed to learn, what I needed to learn.
Yeah. And I just asked that to like also just share. I feel like, because especially as moms, I mean, I feel like too when I talk to my single friends too, who are like don't have a relationship or kids, and they're like, "Oh my God, life is so like there's so much," and it's like,
No.
and it's like, well, we're over here juggling, I'm like athlete, I'm a mom, I'm a business, like all of these things, and
Yeah.
so I feel like sometimes we all get limited by our circumstances in that way. We're like, I have
Mm,
kids, like how am I supposed to do this? And so I feel like that time piece is really, I love to share that and give like the behind the curtains there. So it's like
yeah.
you can really see like, like legitimately, like your kids were not in daycare doing this. In fact, like you were there with your kids, figuring it out. How do you do this with them?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's just like you let it be messy. One of my clients actually, she said, and I'm like, this is the perfect way. She called it be interruptible. It's like you expect to be interrupted. It's
Yeah.
okay if you're interrupted. Like and I was like, that just normalized it for me. And like I share it all the time now. I'm like, I don't take credit for that. That was Laura Roddy. Go
Yeah.
look her up. She's amazing. But
Love it.
yeah, I think you just let it be messy and also be unapologetic about what season you're in. And, one of the core things that I do and help my students do is I run a VA training program. And it's a lot of moms. And like I just tell them, like, yeah, like be so like you pre-address the fact that like the reason you're a VA is so that you can be home with your kids. Put it in your portfolio, but like turn it into a positive. Like I love like telling your clients, I love being a VA because I also don't get to miss motherhood. Like this lets me have it all in life, and like it's such a joy to serve you and to
Yeah.
have this.
So good. So good. Ooh, okay. So we're getting a little tease here. So if you didn't know already, and I didn't say that in the beginning, Bre started with being a VA and now runs this incredible membership, this school, this program for helping others to do this. So let's go there then. So you did the 6 months, made $132. And then you said the seventh month is when things clicked. So what was that difference? Like what, obviously VA clicked, but like take us there and
Yeah,
then from the clicking and then
like clicking.
going up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, so many lessons here I think that anyone who's listening can pluck out too. So I started out and I was like, what can I offer? And I thought, okay, well, I do have 3 young kids, and I figured out how to have my own interests and like joy in life. And so I'm going to teach moms confidence. So that's what I started
Mm.
out in. But I had not yet learned like messaging, positioning, marketing, sales, and I didn't know how to turn it tangible. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, I was still building an audience. It never really stuck. Now I'm like, oh, I could probably sell the shit out of that. But I didn't have the knowledge or the skills at the time. So that was what I did for 6 months. And that was also what I made $132 with. And what I had invested, 20K. And so at the and that's now it was December 2022. I was like, shit, like I got to figure something out. Like this isn't working. My husband's like, you got to stop investing. Like and he was so supportive, but also he's like, okay, we're not seeing anything coming back. And me, like I'm a fixer, which is a gift and a problem. So I'm like, I need to fix this. So I started applying to 9 to 5s, and I'm like, I'll go wait tables on Friday after the kids go to bed. But I was like, I can't stop. Like I literally can't stop. I'm gonna figure out how to keep investing and learn what I need to learn so I can keep going. I don't know, like there's something there of just like I had this conviction that I knew I could do it. Um, so at the time, applying for 9 to 5s, but like really not wanting to go to a 9 to 5. And it was in the process of searching the job boards. I was on Indeed and I found this job description. It was remote. It was like 15 hours a week for a life coach out of LA. Didn't say anything about being a virtual assistant, but it was like, support, like being her admin. I was like, oh my gosh, like I could do this like in my sleep around the kids, like so easy, so fun. And then I was like, how do I find more roles like that?
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I found them, and it was the virtual assistant industry. And it was like, click. Oh, so I can be a VA. I can earn like, really consistent income. Kind of solved a pain point from the direct sales industry too, because you can work your ass off and, it's still dependent on other people. But like you book a VA client, you have a month after month after month, like that's just locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And so found the industry in 3 days. I was like, I had booked a 2K a month client. I
Mm-hmm.
saw the industry. I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, so I looked at other VAs. What do they have? They have a portfolio. This is what it looks like. They pick services. They have rates. Okay, I'm just going to fling it all together. And what do you know? Like, and I just put myself out there and started applying for jobs all in 3 days. And suddenly I'm like, oh, I have a client. Um, and yeah, like it all just unfolded from there. So suddenly I had solved my own problem. And in solving my own problem, I also solved a problem for a lot of other moms who want to make income from home. And then I was like, oh, and this is where the 6 months of investing comes in, because now I know how to teach this to other moms too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So then you totally applied what you learned in those 6 months and paid all that, invested that for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell us too, because, and maybe even like the snapshot of like, okay, yeah. So then you got your first 2K client, but then as far as it seems, it's like it pretty much like went up from there. And your success in the next 2 years, once you found that, was just
Yeah.
this like upward trajectory that like I feel like you don't see a lot. Um, especially as a mom still. Like you're still, and the way and tell me if I'm wrong here, but the way that I feel like you mom with this business is like you're still very present with your kids. Like you pick them up from school. I remember we were trying to schedule something. You're like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm picking my kids up. Um, and so like that's my vision of you running this business is like you're not hustling like 60, 80-hour weeks. You're so maybe even like that, throw that in there. This is a lot. But like, what was that trajectory from like, okay, you got it now. You knew the VA, but what did you do and what did it look like to go from there to like where you are now almost?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So really what comes to mind there is like how I was like unrealistic and savage about my own skill set. I still I always had I was like, I want like my benchmark was like 20 to 30K months when I was making $0. So again, it was like studying like what do these businesses have and how can I get there easier and faster with what I have. And one of the things too, this is like a whole nother tangent, but my husband, when I told him I wanted to do 30K months in the fall of 2022, he's like, and I love him and he's so supportive, but he laughed in my face and not in a nice way and was like, that's completely unrealistic. It's going to set you up to fail. Like, that's toxic. Like, you need to just make a smaller goal because he had seen me try and I was working my booty off and not earning anything out of love and, protection, not rocking the boat of the
Mhm.
family. But I had to decide, like, do I keep doing this or do I like listen to him? And I was like, I'm not gonna listen to him. Like, no. So I just kept going. And then I approached, once I had built a successful offer, I approached it the same way I approached my skills, where I'm like, okay, so systems, team, automations, how can I make this easier for myself? Like, one of the very first things I did was invest in ads, because I knew that I didn't want to spend the time like reaching out to 1,000 people a day. Like, no, thank you. But I see so
Mhm.
many people not want to invest in ads. I'm like, do you not realize like that's gonna grow your business and it's very measurable? And stuff like I hired my first VA this like in January, like the month that I launched my program. And that's how I've approached business building.
Mhm.
And I've always just thought of it as like I'm building a company. Like I don't desire to do everything myself. Yeah, and it's the same, hiring team early, investing in ads early, investing in more team as the business grew. I just had a massive hire on December 31st, 2024. Like if I told you how much I was paying this person every month, you might puke. But I'm like, it's a stretch, but I also know it's going to get me to where I want to go in the
Yeah.
future. And I think on that note too, of like for all of you guys who are listening, business strategy is super important, but also the skill of nervous system regulation and expanding your capacity to hold. Of course, I couldn't have held all of this when I first got started, but like that was a really
Yeah.
important part of my business journey too, the inner work and, staying grounded in the midst, being okay, taking risks and not letting it trigger your nervous system.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. There's like multiple places I want to go from here. Okay. And just tell everybody. So you're like, okay, we know you built this up. So because I believe it was like you hit 1 million in 2 years. Is that right? In
Yeah.
revenue? Yeah.
Yeah. In
So
cash. Yeah.
from the $132
Yep.
to $1 million in revenue in 2 years with 3 kids at home, you guys, just to wrap that in a little bow, like make it all pretty for you. So we just hear it loud and clear. And okay, and then I obviously heard the things that created that, the systems, the team, and just your thought about it was like this building a company. This wasn't, I think like most people would be like, well, I need a little money, a little extra
Mm.
cash or a side gig, or like, I want to start a business like that instead of like, I love your like, when you casual savage, like, you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm starting a company, like
Yeah.
Sarah Blake, like,
Oh, I
what is
love her.
Sarah Blakely, like up in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, amazing. And I'm even like curious too. So some little like, because you started with mentorship there. Did you continue with mentorship over the 2 years that you built to the million plus? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just as an example too, for you guys who are listening, in 2024, so just this past year, my gross cash was 740K that was
Mm-hmm.
collected in the business. I spent 250K on mentorship in 2024. And I mean mentorship, skills development,
Yeah.
education, like that's a lot of money. But I'm okay with that because I playing the long game. I'm not playing the
Yeah.
tomorrow game. But I will
Ooh.
say 2 years in, now I'm shifting from mentorship because honestly, like a lesson learned was I had way too many cooks in the kitchen. I was
Mm.
consuming so much information that it just wasn't even sticking, and it was
Yeah.
like just like, oh yeah. So now my strategy is to invest in expert team instead of mentorship
Mm.
because I've also learned I have the skills, I've, the knowledge. Now it's like really about trusting my intuition and my vision moving forward.
Mm. Okay, I'm glad you said that because that's like a good segue to go. Because I know I saw some of those posts and like that we were talking about. And first of all, thank you for sharing that too. Like the numbers, the real deal, because I really do wish more people
Mhm.
would see the cost to play the game
Yeah.
and not just to get the outcome of X dollars. Oh, you want to grow a business to 1 million, you want to grow to a 10 million, like not just for that, but for the support, for the accountability, for like, I don't know, like literally I will never be without a coach of some kind, shape or form, like a mentor in my life. Once I hired my first coach, and it was a group coaching program for $2,000 that I put on a credit card.
Yep, that's
And
exactly what I did my
like,
first.
yep, like I was like, okay, here we go. Like, and ever since then, I've continued to also hire coaches, even when I didn't have the money to.
Yep.
And I would not be where I am today, and nor would I be able to keep going if I just, it's so valuable. So I'm so glad you said that. And especially too, it's like, you also don't stop. Like, I think too, to hear it's like, okay, you were making the money then. And some people might be like, well, I'll just sit back here and I don't need to invest anymore. And it's like, actually, you got to like double down.
Yeah, absolutely.
um, yeah. So I love that you shared that. Um, okay, let's touch on that because I especially like that's where I feel like I'm at too and started to come to last year was more of this intuition coming. I had a year too where it was just like somebody tell me what to do, give me the strategy. And I think in our world today, that's also like we're like, give me the answers, just tell me what to eat, tell me what to do, and I will do it. And
Yeah.
it's like pump like and you learned this lesson then very truly from like what got you those results so beautifully and like in a flow and so, elevated versus then when it kind of stopped, too many cooks in the kitchen, like going too much strategy. So tell us about this intuition, like your take on it, and like how can we use intuition to create our business, to grow our business, or whatever it is? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this question. So it was funny actually in the summer of 2023. So I launched my program that now, is like a huge part of the business in January 2023. And in the summer, so by the summer, July was my first 30K month. I work with a psychic astrologer
Mm.
and he like reads your natal chart. It's like so cool. If anyone wants his info, happy to make a
Well, we should
connection
put the
there.
links in the show notes. Yeah, you can send that to me. Yeah.
So cool. So cool. But he had said, like, I mean, also, I kid you not, just like a side note, like, he'll be able to tell you about your past lives and like it's so
Ooh,
cool.
okay.
Yeah.
Interested.
But he had said, he's like, your next level is intuition. It's not strategy. And like your invitation going forward is really developing your intuition. And I'm very much like I have built my business in a masculine sense of as far as the like team and structures and strategy and like my brain likes to make systems for things. And so I remember like asking him and thinking like, how do I do that? What's the action plan for intuition? Oh my gosh, that's not how it works. But so yeah, but it was, it's like I'm the type of person you give me a challenge, I'm like, oh yeah, let's go. I'm gonna figure out
Right.
my intuition here. And I did. Like I think how like the biggest thing was just it comes down to self-trust. It
Mm,
comes down to creating space to listen, like to
mm,
hear, to receive, to move. I mean, I think that's also a big one too, is like when people don't trust themselves and they get those nudges and they disregard them, you're like literally severing the connection to your intuition.
yeah.
Um, and when you also you get it, you hear what your intuition, but you don't move on it. That's also like you're disconnecting yourself from your intuition. And so I think
Mm,
one of the biggest things I learned, and I also typically your intuition does not come when you're like working on your computer. For me, it was like
mhm,
the shower, working out, anything where my like conscious brain was occupied. So then my
mhm.
like subconscious was just wide open. And I like got to the point where I would like get on my Peloton and I would actually pray and just be like, I'm open to receive, like, please, drop the ideas in, like, I'm ready to move on them. And I just kind of like consciously like open myself up. And I
Mm,
would always have like my note section ready. Sometimes, like some rides, I would have nothing, but sometimes like this complete like download would just drop in. And I
yeah.
kid you not, I would like get off the bike as much as possible with the kids to be like, oh, I want to make an affiliate program and it's called this and blah, 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 blah. And like put it out like so fast.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it was just fun, just like journey, but like honestly, intuition just comes down to like knowing yourself, trusting yourself, creating space, like receiving the idea, And being prepared to move. Like, I think that's a big thing too, is people will get those nudges but not move on them. And what's the point? What's the point?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I like second all of that because I did my own intuition journey last year where I was like basically like, okay, I give up. I'm not like I'm gonna let go. And like I was even like, whatever you got, universe. Like there was a Reiki. I was like, that whole was like a very intuitive thing. I'd never done Reiki before. And like my girlfriend
Yeah.
talked about it. And then I ran with this girl. We hadn't run together. In the first trail run, she tells me she does Reiki. And I was like, I guess we're doing
Oh,
Reiki.
that's
like,
so cool.
um,
Did you get certified?
no, I didn't get started. I just
Okay.
did it. Like, got it done on me.
Oh,
And actually, it was really funny because I like filled out the form for it, and it asked about sleep and stress. And my stress was like a 1, 2, and my sleep was like the best, like a 9. I was like, I guess there's maybe a little room for improvement here. And then when we got in the room, and she was like, this is gonna be fun and different. She's like, usually when I see people, they're like, they have so many symptoms and things that to solve for, and they're not in a good spot. And I was just like doing good. And we were like, well, let's see how we could go better. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, that journey. And I remember actually I found a podcast too, Anna Grace AG University, that was like she something again talked about finding your intuition, and I was like, boop, like okay. And she talked about intuition walks, kind of similar to where you were like these activities. And it just really makes me too, the working out and movement, like
yeah.
so going on a walk with like I have my phone so I can take notes, but I'm not listening to a podcast, not
Mm,
consuming anything. You're just open to receiving.
yeah.
And like I think that's so powerful in the place to start.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, though, when you get the ping, you got to do something about it.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think, too, I was going to ask because, like, I think in this last year, what I've learned from that is like, I'm so much better at like when the pings come now to act on it because I've been building that trust in myself to like now I say yes to the things, even if they're scary and uncomfortable, which some of them are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, you know, I don't know. I'm 39. I'm going to be 40. Like when like a lot of your life, if you've been denying your intuition
Yeah.
for years, for a lifetime, I mean, for so long, and you haven't trusted yourself, is there anything that comes up for you there to like share that would help some women, some mamas, anybody to be like, it's okay. You can trust yourself here.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Oh, I mean, one of the things that's coming through timely too is like I just hosted a messaging and positioning workshop in my VA academy. And like the core message, I taught them all the frameworks and the strategies, but literally I started it and ended it with like a loving spiritual slap of
Mm,
like messaging isn't shit unless you love yourself
mm,
and you trust yourself. And I think that's the biggest like thing for intuition, anything in business, because everything's a mirror. Like what you see in front of you is just you pushed out. Like you don't feel like your husband respects you. Well, where do you not respect yourself? If you're not
mm,
booking clients, like where do you not trust yourself to show up and own who you are?
mm,
Um and so I would just say like misalignment if you feel frustrated in life or like you're not where you want to be, you're likely disconnected from yourself and your truth. And the more you can love yourself, trust yourself, and listen to yourself, the more you'll get what you want in life. Like nothing good ever comes from like being who you think you should be. It's always like learning how to be who you are. Like I always say now, I'm like, my business is the least interesting part about me. How much money I earn, I could care less. Like who I am is why I've built the business that I've built. And I think you developing who you are is going to grow your business, your life. Like that's the greatest life skill you could ever give yourself.
Oh my gosh, so good. I agree 1,000% too. And even with my recent rebrand, it was like,
So good.
I now can't stop talking about it because it
Yeah.
felt so aligned And when it came to me and I got the downloads, and then I decided to go act on it within a week. And that was like Christmas week too.
I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember that. I saw you pop up. I'm like, oh
Oh shit.
damn, here we go. Yes.
Yeah. And like, and I like in this conversation, like, I feel like when we are ready, like I had done so much of my inner work last year, I was able to receive that. Like that
Mm,
idea and that intuition was able to come to me, and I was able to act on it like that because I'd been working in business and working through all the things and like for so long that I didn't have, oh God, what is somebody gonna think? I didn't give two shits about what anybody really thought. I was like, this is who I am now. Watch, like here it
oh,
comes.
here we go.
And I don't know that I would have been able to do that a year or two ago. So I do feel like too, just like if the more we start to do this intuition work and we do the inner work and love ourselves and those things you were just saying, the more the doors just open a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit bigger. And it's just this beautiful, like, oh, like you said, like life is fucking amazing. It's not even like the business. Like life is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, the journey is amazing. Um,
Ooh,
I always think in analogies, and so I have two analogies for
yes.
this.
Give it.
So nerdy, but they help me learn, and so I don't know. I guess I've
I
learned
love
to
them.
like teach my students like that. But so here's what comes to mind: two different things. One, it's like the farmer tilling the soil, preparing the soil, and then you plant the seed. If you overwater the seed, if you're like constantly digging up the seed to see if it's come yet, it's you're gonna kill it. That's the same with like our business, our dreams, our desires, our manifestations. And like for so when you were sharing that, I was like, oh yeah, it's just like the seed. Like you kept watering the seed, you were nurturing the seed, you weren't obsessing about the seed, and it sprouted like complete. It was like the complete
Yes.
download. Like yeah, and I mean that's what you were doing. You were just like tilling your soil and you planted the seed and you were watering the seed and nurturing it. Like it came out when it was ready.
Yes. Oh, I
And you
love that.
didn't give up on the seed too.
Yeah.
Yep. And then the other analogy, I love this one too, is like, you know, when people have big business goals and dreams, it's often like, and this is not even just business, it's like walking in fog. Like we
Mm,
know where we're headed, but we can't see, you know, 20 feet in front of us. But as we take the next step is revealed. And so, you know, oftentimes, I mean, none of us know when we're going to die or like where we're going to end up, not to be morbid. But so all of our life is kind of like walking in fog, but like you have to take that step. And it's not until you take the step that the next one is revealed. So those two analogies came through as you were
I love
talking.
it. I love it. Okay, so good. Yes. Okay, I know we're kind of coming on time here, close here. I want to know just maybe even like these are like quick fire, if anything, because you said inner work too. We talked about intuition,
Yeah.
but like, is there anything that comes up with the inner work that you did that really like all of the stuff that you did that pulls out that you want to share that could help somebody else? Any
Yeah.
like really, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that really helped me was like my money mindset.
Mm,
And I worked like Amanda Francis. I did her money mentality makeover. That was amazing because I took it at a time when I still was not, my business was starting to gain traction, but I was still like way, like how much I'd invested versus earned was like, you
yep.
know, not proportionate. And I felt a lot of anxiety in my body. But
Mm,
it was like my human anxiety because I knew where I was going and I was like, I'm going to build something massive. Like it's fine. But holding that was a lot. That
yeah.
really helped me. I think it's called like Get Rich Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield Thomas. Great book. Like,
Mm,
and I mean, a lot of it was just like being delusional and like tuning out what you don't want to see in your reality. And like the book, Denise's book, just had some really fun things. Like you change all your computer passwords to your like money identity affirmation. And like Amanda would talk about setting like location based reminders in your phone. And I still have them
mm,
plugged into my phone that I created like when I started my business.
mm,
And they still pop up. Like I have them set to pop up when I get to my kids' school and when I leave the kids' school.
mm,
Um, yeah, so I would say like money mindset
mm.
stuff, if you're building a business, is really huge.
Yeah. Ooh, okay, so good. And you gave us some great resources there too to tap into. You just said something there, and I want to touch on this because I feel like this is your aura and a part of you and your story and like where you're now and where you're going as these delusional goals. And I'm such a fucking fan because like even like when that's kind of what I like to say and preach because like didn't I'd run a couple marathons, but it wasn't doing it for me. I like when I found out about ultra marathons, I was like, oh, like I could not wait to get my hands on to do one of these crazy things. And so like I think it's so I love it because I'm always like, what the heck is possible? Like for real with us. You know, I love those stories of when it's like what's really possible. And I feel like that is you too. And so what I don't know, any takes, like anything that you want to share on the like delusional goals, on this delusional mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, literally anything is possible. If you feel like something's not possible, it's just your mind telling a story.
Mhm.
And one of the things like that always really helped me was to find expanders, so people who'd done what I want to do and I would just study them.
Yeah.
And as much as you can like normalize it, like, you are who you surround yourself with. So I think that's why mentorship is so powerful too, because you can put yourself in rooms where it normalizes your goals. And because
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, like, people who work with all the love, like, working in corporate, working a 9 to 5 is a very different mindset. And I also think that sometimes, like, what we do online and, the business success that we create can be triggering
Yeah.
to people who feel stuck, like, in their 9 to 5 or like there's not another way. And so I think you have to like keep your energy really clean and protected.
Yeah.
Like I remember telling Andrea Crowder, who I don't know, she's fabulous. I
I've
was on
heard of
her
her now. My girl
oh,
Mariah told me about her. Yeah.
she's awesome. Yeah. So I was on her podcast like almost a year ago and I was telling the story of like how I didn't keep my husband in the loop for a year until I was at like 50K months. And I was like, I don't know if that's a bad thing, like not marriage advice, but that's just what I did to protect my goals. And she's like, you had to do that. Don't touch the baby with dirty hands. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm glad you dropped that one in right there, right now. It's like so because I know we did talk about that a little bit even,
Yeah,
and it's like that is a huge fact. I've talked to clients about that where they're like,
yeah,
yeah, but my husband or my
right.
partner, like, and it's a hindrance. It's like holding them back, or
Yeah,
they set the boundaries and rules or the this. And so it's like, I love that about you too, where there's like full permission. You were like, this is what I'm gonna go do regardless. I'll love you. And I
yeah,
like and and that
yeah,
duality again, where you're like, I'll love you and our family, and I'm here to support us, and I'm gonna
yeah,
fucking ball out and like make my
yeah,
business no matter what.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I always say, like, your husband is not your daddy. Do not ask for permission. You can ask for support or just do the thing anyways.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. And that is like, is there anything else even on that, like husband relationship type, like that dynamic that you want to share too of like insights handling that?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing I want to normalize, if you feel, whoever's listening, if you feel like, dang, like this is really landing, maybe it's even triggering because your husband doesn't get it. He doesn't want you to, make moves. The thing to know is it's not because he doesn't believe in your dreams. It's not because he doesn't believe in you. It's simply his protectorship, his providership. Like he doesn't want to rock the boat of the family. He doesn't want to disrupt the equilibrium, and the unknowns are. And also there's the whole providership narrative. That's another side note. But like the thing to know is like it's because he loves you. It's because he loves his family. Like he doesn't want things to get messy. But like we know things have to get messy. Like to get good you got to suck. So it's just like if you can just, make it not mean something about you. It's just a beautiful thing about him. But then you have to decide, and this was what I had to decide: is
Yeah.
his beliefs and vision true for me? Is that going to be my story, or am I going to, pursue what I believe to be my story? And I chose mine, and that's why I'm here now.
Mm, I love that. And I love that last piece at the end because it's like, I feel like that's just something in coaching all the time. Is like, you always have a choice. We all always have a choice. Do we want to choose to be this person and to be that, and we're okay with that. That's a choice to go along with that. Or you can choose to go your way and do it like no matter what. But there's always a choice in all of the things. So it's like that right there just really, I think, gave two paths. We're like, you're standing here and we all get to choose. Not, oh, because of my husband, I can't do this, or because of my kids, or because of any of these. It's like, no, we always get to choose. What do you want?
Yes, 100%.
Um, okay, oh my gosh, I know we could keep going. So let's I kind of want to like wrap up with like, is there anything that you want women, moms to know out there? Like, is there two things? Is there anything just in general, and you were thinking about like the women and moms out there that really like they have that? They have something on their heart and head, whether it's to be a VA or to do like they have something they want to pursue and they're not, or just in general, is there a message you want to share to like the women and moms out there? And then just in general, if there's anything I didn't ask that you want to share and touch on and get out into the world, share that too.
Okay, amazing. I'm gonna make it quick because I actually have to go get my kiddos and
Oh,
we have
yes.
parent teacher conferences here in just a bit. But yeah, I mean, I would say like truly anything's possible. No one can give you permission but yourself. Like if you want me to give you permission, I'll give it to you right now, but like you have to validate yourself and hold the conviction and the belief.
Mm.
If you don't feel like it's possible, I mean, what I would say, get in rooms, like normalize the success, the possibility, but also to trust your desires. Like this goes back to intuition too. Of like if the desire's in your heart, it's there for a reason. If you believe in God, then God placed it in your heart. If you believe in, I don't know, intuition, source, universe, like it's there for a reason. Like that is your intuition. So if you have this desire to go build a 30K month business, 100K month business, it wouldn't be there unless you couldn't not make it happen. Is that right? You like it's there because it's possible for you. It's like part of your pathway. And so all that's left is for you to trust that desire and then move on it.
Oh, so good. So beautiful. Okay, tell everyone, where can they connect with you after this, find you, follow you, about VA, what you do, the Mom VA Academy, share all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to connect on Instagram. My handle is at Hey, it's Bre Cain, HUITSBRECAIN. Send me a DM. I would love to hear what resonated with you. And then I also, my link in bio has a bunch of different, I've got a free Facebook group of like over 10K VAs. And I don't know, there's a free course, like all kinds of things. So go check out the link in bio, send me a DM. Can't wait to connect.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Bre. Thank you so much for being on and sharing everything.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me. So much fun.